wouldn't surprise me to see a Miracle lead either. I think that's probably the second most likely option, and then from Kolento, I would probably pick Druid as my second most likely.
Druids always feel like they're pretty stable, as always a really good, consistent pick to lead off a series. Well, the players are ready, and we'll find out what happens in game number 1 between ek0p and Kolento for day number 2 of WEC. Let's jump into the game and see what's going on for both of these players.
Hey, 0 for 2, not bad.
Well, if you guessed the third one, you would have been 1 for 3, and that's not too bad in Hearthstone. Sometimes you gotta take those odds.
I don't mind those odds at all.
Yeah, sometimes 1 and 3. When it comes to Ragnar's hits, come on, that's sometimes as good as it gets. Other than 50.
Like blackjack, man.
Or any casino, really. So ek0p's gonna have Power of the Wild. It looks like he has that token Druid set. He played a lot of this deck in recent tournaments as well for DreamHack, and he's even bringing it to WEC. And it looks like Kolento has very much the same elements of it, but he does have a pretty fast start with Innervates, Argent Squire, so he can take control of the board a little bit quicker.
Yeah, Token Druid Mirrors are a little bit interesting in that their density of draws is a lot lower than a typical Druid deck. Like in a typical Druid deck, you'll see stuff like Harvest Golem, Showen Yeti, and then they just start blasting Haymakers back and forth on every step of the curve from 5, 6, 7, and so on. But with Token Druid, they're so much more focused on these early stages of the game that what ends up happening is if they don't draw these cards early, their density goes down. So just right from the get-go, I would have to give the advantage here to Kolento based on these draws, because what's ended up happening now is it's not just because he's gotten up to such an early start, because this early start's actually going to get disrupted by this Keeper of the Grove, but what's coming into effect here is that his draw density is a little bit higher than ek0p's is right now, because ek0p's still got 2 copies of Argent Squire in his deck, and he's still got a second copy of Power of the Wild.
Draw that. If it's in the bottom third of your deck, that is going to feel really painful, especially if you're top decking, which often is the case because these Druid decks are special. Yeah, that's true. If you can make it to that.
Yeah, around the card 15, 16 spot is where you could really see it matter, when they kind of need to draw some gas, but he could just be drawing Argent Squire instead. So a lot of it's going to come down to if he can build enough board pressure, because another thing that happens is if he builds enough board pressure, stuff like Argent Squire actually becomes a good draw, because you're just looking to make the Savage Roar push. So it can kind of go both ways, but obviously you don't always anticipate having board control going into those late turns. I would usually expect it to be kind of both players down to almost no cards.
So now we come on to a turn 3 where Kolento has 2 decisions of pushing up Power of the Wild or saving or using a Keeper of the Grove. And he opts to save the Keeper and use the second Power of the Wild here. It looks like he was agonizing over a little bit.
It seems, I think what's happening is he doesn't want to give up too information. Like, this is his only play. I think he kind of wants to make it seem like that he has at least a moderate decision to be making. But there's not really much thought to it other than to just Power the Wild for a 3-2, I don't think. I mean, he just doesn't really have anything else to do, and he's got to start pushing damage. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, second Keeper.
That
great response.
That is a game changer. And at this point...
Because look at the quality of his hand as well.
Right. So this is something else that comes into account is hand quality. I mean, that makes a very big difference in these games as well. Violet Teacher, it's
quite unfortunate.
Really unfortunate that those 2 powers are gone now. Yeah. This is a really bad pan out here from Kolento. I think he's played it fine so far, and I think ek0p's played it fine so far as well. That Keeper really changing the outcome of this game, though. Like, it seems like such a small thing, but that Keeper has changed this game so much.
Oh, looks like he's going to push for a swipe and
I imagine
flood the board as much as he can. Okay. Third time's a charm.
Cards dancing around. Can you catch me? Can you catch me?
Hopefully not.
I can dance all day. I can dance all day.
Is he going to top deck a swipe? Because he just top decked the Keeper of the Grove to respond to that. But if he top decked the swipe, that would have been pretty sick.
Not a bad one. I think he's got a double Wrath here.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take care
double
of
Wrath, Hero Power 1. Just take care of the board. It's very clear that your opponent showed that he was pretty... I mean, I don't really know what other cards you could really hold on that to go for that kind of play immediately, so... I think ek0p realizes that Kolento's taking a very aggressive stance, and by swatting this down, his opponent's going to be relegated to top decking unless he has like an Ancient of Lore.
Huh, that's really weird. I wonder why he would do that. That's really interesting to me. Okay, so one of the things he could be doing is he could just be trying to go for the Azure Drake Wrath. Instead of like
And the
using
following
both his
turn
drafts
and
right now. Right.
Uh-huh.
That's really the only thing that makes sense. He may want Kolento to like inefficiently commit with more spells. Oh wow. Forgot to keep it in his hand. Well, this game has taken a pretty ugly turn. I don't know. The not wrathing there is really strange. I wonder why you did that. Either way, you're almost certain.
I think
gonna
also.
see, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow, the
with the
hits
Violent Teacher and
continue.
the Power of the Wild and the Wrath
And a
and the Innervate. Whoa,
Oh my
okay, so
gosh,
this board is going to completely swing.
This may end up being enough to end it here, because Kolento's going to have to use this Force as a response, unless he draws something really powerful.
If he draws a Savage Roar, is the game over there? No, I can't imagine.
No, I don't think it is. Actually, no, he doesn't have enough mana for it. He's only going to go in 8 mana.
Well, so if he just simply Savage Roars, does he have enough? But I don't think so, because I was counting if the Violent Teacher was still alive, which obviously will never be allowed to live past his turn.
If the Violet Teacher was
That
alive...
is an intimidating board, Jesus.
Yeah, if the Violet Teacher was alive, it was 17. 18. Yeah, but this board has taken an ugly turn as far as Kolento is concerned. Even Force of Nature doesn't seem that appealing here, because you still have to take care of the Violet Teacher. So, like, the 3 Force of Nature token, take out the Violet Teacher, and then I guess he can just keep attacking the opponent's face, because all of his trades are kind of weird. So you just put 4 to the face and hope that you draw the other Force of Nature. I'm sorry, I hope that you draw a Savage Roar to make a push. Alternatively, he could attack one of these tokens with a 2/4. I guess he could attack the other token with the other 2. That's what he's going to do.
I think it's very clear, though, that ek0p's the one who's trying to play the control role, though. But Kolento's going to be the one cleaning up, because I think it's coming up on these turns where it's very difficult for Kolento to try to push back if his opponent builds up like a too big of a board and just Savage Roars, and that game just gets out of control from him.
Right. So what he's doing here instead is he just wants to try to like force through a couple extra points of damage and hope that he draws Savage Roar so he can have a full combo, which is also it's a fine line as well. I actually, in hindsight, think that's better. I think it's his best line because it gives him the best chance to win.
Black Knight doesn't actually help him right now.
Right. Black Knight's pretty bad in the token mirrors because neither player you really taunts. Like both of them are pretty reluctant to do so.
Okay, but it seems like ek0p has really weathered most of the storm here, and he's going to be able to stabilize, put it down to a pretty weak board, and there's really nothing that he can lose to. So Kolento is really relegated, just hoping that he draws into this combo really soon.
Yep.
He's going to be on 8 or 9 mana, though. I think he's going to be on 8 because he did have the coin, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
Oh, wow, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, he can definitely put that to use right now, especially with the
he's
spell
definitely
power
not out.
play.
He's definitely not out of this game. Now he's got some... Here's another question for him, though. Does he want to draw a card or not? Because, again, his plan was to commit to drawing a Savage Roar. So does he want to take out one of these minions now, or does he want to draw an extra card?
I think he's also hasn't shown that he has a swipe. So, because it was like these boards have been really good for swipes recently, and I think if you can kind of make that assumption and hopefully it isn't drawn to it, then maybe you can use it to draw. You're not as afraid.
Curious. This is kind of tough, actually. And that's what he's thinking about right now. He's thinking about how all the different draws in his deck over the next 2 turns really change this game. And so when he does this, he concludes that it's not as important as just getting this threat off the board.
Okay, well, let's see if it pays off for him. ek0p has been trying to control the board most of the game. He draws a Force of Nature, which should be allowing him to clear everything. If he, he should be able to.
He's actually going to
clear
clear
everything.
everything.
He also has the Savage Roar Force of Nature combo in response.
Yeah, I actually think that he's going to clear everything and go to 15. Like, he can attack the Harvest Golem, Force Nature, take out these 2 minions, and then Hero Power. And so the 15 puts him just out of range of Savage Roar combo, which I think is something he may be trying to avoid. But at the same time, he wants to consider what happens if his opponent just draws a swipe or draws a Druid of the Claw in charge and is able to keep pressing through damage. But I think that's a risk he should be willing to take right now.
I think so, because it's starting to get... I mean, if you've been paying attention to his hand, he's also been holding this one card for a while, so you can kind of deduce that is one of those combo pieces, in which case you need to be able to play as high as health as you can and really avoid any ability to take damage. So I think this is the smartest play possible.
Yeah, if ek0p draws something like a in Ancient of Lore, I'd be very surprised if it didn't heal for 5. Because it's one of it feels to me, given the card advantage, it's one of the only ways that he can actually lose the game, I think.
Okay. Oh, well, you know, we were talking about this at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
It is
but that's
annoying,
actually,
though.
It's not the worst thing in the world, though, because now if you draw Savage Roar, this is actually still lethal unless ek0p is able to take care of this. Which, right now, he would have to take the damage to take care of it, which still puts him in lethal range. So that's actually not the worst draw in the world. He's probably going to be forced to ignore that.
Okay, we'll see what ek0p's able to top deck off this draw. It's the Haunted Creeper, so he can make a pretty intimidating board with the Power of the Wild.
Yeah, I would power here and go 5 to the face, and then you have 10, 12, plus 8. You have 18 to turn after. So then you have a 2-turn lethal on this board right now. He may also select to kill this little dorky guy. This is fine as well, because he still wants to get himself to a point where he's outside of range, and this is sort of this one health Drake. Yeah, this 1 health Drake is like taunting Kolento.
Oh,
jeez!
You see what I see?
And that's gonna do it. Top
second
and reckon. But you know what? This is the plan he committed to. So when you commit to this plan, this is part of the hope that you're going for. So he has like 2 outs with like 20 cards left in his deck for like
get blown out by token if they get a really lightning fast start, and because they have to trade with sometimes their hero power, they might end up losing a lot of health. So looks like he's going to go with Paladin instead. And yesterday we saw that it was a little bit of a slower Paladin where you have less of those mid-rangey creatures that Kolento does like to use, like those knife jugglers and whatnot. So let's see how it matches up here.
Yeah, Token Druid feels like it's going to be a little bit worse versus this style of Paladin. But it's not to say that it's like a bad idea. This deck is forced to be a little bit more aggressive, and in my experience versus Paladin, when you have to be the aggressor in these sort of slower to mid-range matchups, it can end up coming back to bite you because the Paladin has such strong responses to everything. I like to typically be the one responding to Paladin. Wow, he mulligans his swipe into an Innervate too.
Well, I think the most important thing really is getting this fast start. So at least he has the Argent Squire and Harvest Golem already. You pick up things like Power of the Wild. You know, Power of the Wild is also such a big MVP card in this matchup from my experience. From like that 3 days I decided to test Paladin foolishly at the beginning of the season. It often puts it out of range of like things like Consecration and just slightly annoy you if you're able to kind of buff up the board. And so if you can kind of keep that out of the range of AoE and things like you force him to really have the Pyromancer in order to kind of get a full clear, then I think in this respect it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I'm curious how he's going to end up playing this because the Ancient of Lore was a very big draw as well. I like the dual Harvest Golems here and just start pushing damage.
Well, there's really no other play. I don't think you can stave your coin and innervate for like a turn 4 Ancient, but then do nothing really.
His attack matters a little bit. I don't think that Kolento is going to fear something like Blood Knight, but against a lot of players, like this is going to be a major difference between like tournaments and ladder. This is something I want to point out. If you're playing on ladder against someone that you don't know who it is, I think it's often a good idea to trade away that shield, because if your opponent has Blood Knight here, you're just going to lose. That would just be like the worst feeling
straight
ever.
up, you just get blown
where
out.
you're like, oh, you're playing that Paladin deck. But these two players, I think, are going to be relatively familiar with each other's lists. And in that light, you shouldn't be you shouldn't be using your shield there. The extra damage matters a lot because as far as he's concerned, it's basically a free damage. But there is some risk associated with that.
That's a fair assessment. ek0p does top deck a Spellbreaker. That's an interesting tech card, but with Nax Rammus and all these Death Rattles coming out, I mean, more silences are being put into play, so it makes sense.
It's a little bit strange, but I kind of like it. And one of the things I think he's preparing for when he uses a card like that is something like Ancient of War. I think more than anything else, and it's just the fact that it also happens to like splash hate on stuff like eggs. It's like now it has.
You don't think though that it's. I mean, when he has things like Black Knight, so he's having 2 cards of insurance against things like Ancient of War.
Yeah, that stuff all starts to add up. It's like. The thing about it is it also happens to hit stuff like Ancient of War, and it also hits eggs. So when you have more targets for things like silences, they actually just go up in value because they're not quite as narrow as they used to be. Like, it used to be hard to actually use a card like this because there was only a couple silence targets in decks, so it wasn't worth, like, dedicating a slot to running this card. But now that you have so many different silences, it's so easy to run it, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, it makes sense. It's just oftentimes Paladin decks kind of get clunky at the 4 mana curve, so it's just interesting you chose that and not something simple like an Iron Beak Owl. But I mean, Iron Beak Owl is so fragile that it feels like it's just going to sit there situationally. Versus Spellbreaker can actually fight to a certain capacity with that 4 damage.
I think that's the major difference. Ooh, look at this.
Kodo with Aldor Peacekeeper combo.
Yeah, Kolento net 2 cards off this, but this is not sort of a very strong spot for him, I don't think. He's got Force combo, but in the next couple of turns, it's going to be increasingly difficult for him to actually push through any damage. Like, what is his response here?
Well, he does have an Azure Drake to continue building it, but that, again, it is pushing it into a board that would just suicide it, and then Paladin can start building his own board. Right. This is where things like the tokens actually start really doing work, because even if it is that 1 damage, it allows them to dictate trades that they can sneak in with minions and essentially buff their minions if you're able to kind of outnumber you. And then Paladin essentially has that, that Sword of Justice 1/1 buff on the creature with its hero power effectively. And then with that, you get bad trades.
Yeah, this is the difference maker in having swipe and not having swipe. He's got a pretty resilient amount of pressure going, though. Like, all these 1/1s are really going to start adding up to an annoying amount of damage. Oh, look at this.
Okay. So spending his Wrath to clear.
I honestly did not expect the Power of the Wild to come out this turn.
Well, it fits more mana, so it's nice. And then you have the Drake and whatever you top deck off that.
These guys are really annoying to deal with now. Well, it's pretty hard to not play Kodo here.
All of a sudden. And the Elven Archer as well can help snipe something as well.
I wonder if you Elven Archer here or not. I think you hold on to the Archer. I think you just make a token. I think making a token's better here. And the 2 major reasons why are now that Kodo can't trade into a 4-power guy. I'm sorry, a 4 health guy. So, like, something like this ends up being kind of an issue.
You're right in that respect.
I think it's a little bit of an oversight. The other thing, too, is it floats a mana and it's an opportunity cost.
True.
So those little things like that add up. Ooh.
Well, Peacekeeper's here to at least be able to control some of the board as well.
If he's going to play Azure Drake this turn, he
should do that first.
Right. Not that it's going to change his play very much, honestly. It's pretty hard to not play Peacekeeper here, almost regardless of what you draw, but it's just good habits to be in.
Oh, definitely, I agree. You want to see if it potentially changes the play, but I really don't think so, because after the Azure Drake, the only thing you could have played, assuming what you have, is Wild Pyro, so that is not a very powerful play. And you're usually saving the Pyro for a reset button anyways. Or a way to kind of accentuate your Consecrations if you really need that 3 damage push.
Right. So Kolento, is Kolento going into 9 mana or 8 mana? 8 mana.
He's going into 8 mana.
Okay, that would have been a really dangerous play if he was going into 9 mana.
You're just leaving up 3 minions right there. You're giving him an extra 2 damage, essentially.
Not that he had many plays if that was the case, if he was going into 9 mana. In this instance, he's just dead, so Kolento's actually going to be making a pretty strong push for lethal here in the next couple turns. And ek0p going to be relying on these taunts to hold the board down.
In a weird way, like, the Violet Teacher also plays against it, because if it builds up the board too much, then you don't actually have room for the Force of Nature Savage Roar, assuming, like, he has something in the way of you and you have to kind of spend it.
Yeah, that's a mistake I made.
Yeah.
The 4 minions out, Force of Nature.
Right, it summons before the spell, right?
Yes, it summons when you play it, and then the spell resolves. So you get a 1/1 token, and then you get 2 2/2 charge treants. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
See, how much damage does he have if he Savage Roars right here?
Well, it's 10 plus 7.
10, 17. That is really tight.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough game for ek0p. He needs a board reset. Like,
yeah, equality would be great right here.
He needs a taunt, too.
Well, he has a Consecration. So that's pretty nice.
He needs a taunt, though.
So he can Consecration and Ascension.
Right.
Okay.
I think it's what
he's still going to be able to stay alive.
Right, he's recognizing it, too. Like, he saw him reach for the Wild Pyromancer, And then he realized that Kolento's going into 9 mana next turn, so he's rethinking through everything and making sure he doesn't make a mistake here. Because this is like one of the spots where you lose most commonly versus Druid is when they have a ton of pressure and you let them have their 9 mana combo.
Man, that consecration was very important though, because even if he had a taunt, you know, if you leave up any additional creatures just solely because you didn't have enough minions to trade, then those extra creatures that get Savage Roar often can burst through, and they have. I mean, he's at 12 health, so that's assuming the hero power didn't have to hit him straight in the face, which means he can use that extra minions and that damage from his from Malfurion itself to burst through any taunts.
Kolento, by the way, now has combo, but he also has a second Force Nature, so he can use this Force Nature to clear this Sen'jin, and then he can go for lethal next turn, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He doesn't have really many other options.
Okay. He's even opting to sneak in one more damage. I thought he was going to try to see if he can clear the Kodo as well, make it a little bit harder to kill off this Ardent Squire, but he opted to keep as much health on himself as possible.
Yeah, I sort of think that's a little bit weird, because if he actually clears the Kodo, his opponent can't just outright kill him. Oh my gosh, that's a really good draw.
Check this out, the Guardian of Kings. I mean, he had a Sunwalker as well, which I thought, well, you know, he has another taunt, but you can always burst through taunts. But to heal out of range, that is really nice for the Paladin player.
Yeah, I think ek0p's got to clear this Ardent Squire too, by the way, because again, sort of in line with the thought, like Kolento is really very hard telegraphed that he is going for lethal. So if he leaves that Ardent Squire around, that Sunwalker is going to be able to be easily cleared, and at the same time, 17 health also is just enough to die to the full combo. So Ardent Squire actually pulling quite a bit of weight there. Oh my gosh!
Whoa!
I think he's supposed to Violet Teacher and Savage Roar here and just attack his face. Honestly, just to get an extra token out and to just push through 3 more damage. That way your combo's lethal again.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. But then, assuming he doesn't have something like another taunt as well, second Savage Roar would represent like that 22 damage combo if you're able to burst through with one of them, and then you have an extra one, because actually that 6 damage isn't necessarily needed because he has that 17. So you can use one to kind of remove the taunt if one comes out. Okay,
so in this way he's looking for Innervate. Oh my gosh, these are major power draws from ek0p here. Okay, this one's done, ladies and gentlemen. 2 Holy Lights!
Holy Lights? Are we seeing the same thing here?
This is like actually a healing paladin. This is sweet.
He just healed back to full health.
He can't even die. He can't even die to 22 damage right now. So even if Kolento's range is Force of Nature, Innervate, double Savage Roar on his next turn, which would be all 4 of his cards, he still isn't dead.
Wow, that is really cool. Really cool to see this, because the Healadin is usually used as a troll deck, right, to kind of respond to super burn heavy stuff that you kind of do. Heal yourself out of mage burn rage. When Hunter was really popular, you just heal, so that way they can't hit you down.
Yeah.
But now it's like, at this point, ek0p healed to virtually full life, or he has the availability to, because he even has True Silver's Champion, so that's heal as well. And he has that ability to just kind of float here the entire time, and Kolento is sitting here like, what can I do?
I don't know if there's any way he can get out of this. His deck is so dedicated to finishing the game around this mark, and this is where the deck will start to stifle. It's just ek0p's also taking complete control. This is the goal of his deck, is to get to this point and then get back to 30 life. And then his deck density is so high in terms of draws that it's like there's no way your opponent can climb out of it.
Well, Kolento has to dedicate his big combo to clearing the board, and he only has a Savage Roar left. You remember, he used his first Force of Nature to clear that Sen'jin Shield Master when it was first thrown down. But ek0p's got other stuff waiting. He's got a Sunwalker. He's got a True Silver to kind of control whatever kind of small minions pop out. He's in really prime position to just kind of starve his opponent out.
Yeah, that's already basically been done with the Force of Nature combo here. He's even just going to play a Wild Pyromancer just because it's a 3/2.
Yeah, and his opponent's at 16 health, which is not... I mean, if you have something like Avenging Wrath as well, and if they don't have many creatures, then the Avenging Wrath actually is just a straight-up burn spell, and you just do 8 damage, and you can burst your opponent in a surprising way if they're not prepared.
You know what? I think ek0p's thinking about how he can actually lose the game right now, and I think he's going to continue... Oh, never mind. He's decided to YOLO it. I was like... the way he was playing, I was like, is he really going to just play around Black Knight the whole game? But even like Black Knight isn't going to blow him out of the water. It gets really good value here, but it's just not going to win the game still. And like I want to get excited for Kolento's draws, but I just don't believe it, man. This game is basically it's going to take an absolute miracle for Kolento to manage to win this game.
Unfortunately, his Miracle Rogue was banned, so he can't even bring out for the following game.
What if he just draws Gadget and Auctioneer and then just starts cycling? And like he does like Preparation,
Wild, Innervate Moonfire, just starts getting a chain amount of draws, and it's like Leroy finishes it off. Like, how did you do this? Oh, ek0p has... Let's see, he's got 5 plus the 4 from True Silver. Can't end it just yet.
This is the turn to push for it, though.
Yeah, to set yourself up to be in a prime position to just finish off your opponent. I think True Silver does come out here.
You can lose to. Your opponents use a Force of Nature and they've used a Savage Roar. They can't double Savage Roar you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can even use the Holy Light to even heal up one of, like, you can heal up the Sunwalker after it trades. But then again, you were kind of worried it may be a Black Knight, but he didn't show it, so he has a top deck yet.
Right. Kolento's playing purely off the top of the deck, and ek0p's aware of that. So he's just looking for the most efficient way to end the game. This True Silver would not be surprised to see this attack the Keeper of the Grove. I don't know if attacking the Keeper of the Grove or the Panther is better, though. I think it's the Panther.
Well, I mean, the Panther, you take 1 less damage on your minion if you decide to go for the trade.
He's just
or you can just go for the face. I mean, either one.
13. He's at 13. Just go for the face.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because then he dies in the next turn anyways, assuming he can't push through.
Yep. He's going to die regardless, because this is still 5 points of damage. And then he's going to play 2 more minions. Nope, he's just going to play it safe. He can kind of do whatever he wants, honestly. He's got the opponent pin.
Definitely.
It's a slow count from the referee.
I do like the idea of saving the second Holy Light, though, because that could reveal information that you don't want your opponent to know. So try, obviously you don't use it if you don't have to.
Right, that's a very good point.
Huh. And if you're Kolento, I mean, you could try to play it out to see maybe 1 more card from your opponent, but he looks like he can also kill you with what he has just right here in front of you. So, I mean, I really don't see a point in continuing it. I mean, he needed something like Ancient of Lore and barely be able to survive and pull into something else. Assuming your opponent was... Like, you have to draw into, like, an Innervate and Swipe right off your Ancient of Lore in order to, like, somewhat take back the board. Not even then, he'd be able to just trade directly into
you
it.
You can see how pained he is. He knows he has to use Savage Roar to kill this Sunwalker. You can just see he's pained because he knows he can't make a push for lethal after that. He's just gonna have to draw so well.
Watch this Black Knight. It's just gonna destroy everything. It's gonna ruin childhoods.
He's invincible, man.
Kolento's about to become a man the hard way.
Wow.
Yep. Here we go.
And that's gonna do it.
Black Knight.
And that's 9 points of damage to that Consecration. Not that he needed it. This game was done like dinner. That's going to be game 2 going over to ek0p. He takes this game with Paladin, completely crushing the board position and taking full control, still at 26 HP with a Holy Light in his hand. That's a well-played game. When you're playing against other Legend players, like best of 3 would be totally fine to be doing.
All right, so I think it's time for game number 3. It's tied 1-1. Wonder what Kolento will pick.
I imagine he's got.
It could be just a mirror.
I think he has to pick Paladin here. He doesn't want to pick Handlock, I don't think, into Paladin, and I really don't want to pick Zoo into Paladin either. Zoo is actually one of the decks where I think Paladin is really strong because it opens really well, and then if they have a Consecrate, you could just be a sitting duck the rest of the game.
Oh, so you like Paladin versus Zoo?
Yeah, I think
I hate it every single time. I really hate it.
Really? You like Paladin?
Just because you don't draw Consecrate. It's kind of like Shaman. If you don't have the AoE, you just die, don't you?
Do you like Paladin versus Hunter?
I do, because the 1/1s do end up being able to trade pretty effective. If it's an aggro Hunter, yes.
Yeah.
No, even against mid-ranger, right?
I just think Paladin looks good versus like aggro decks. It feels like it's just what it's made to beat. It's got these massive power swing 4-drops, and then it's got a 2-mana heal 6, which is just like a nightmare for aggro decks.
But then how do you deal with like Nerubian Egg now that you have Consecrate and inequalities? And then how are you going to be able to like again the buffing of the health? You know what? That's actually completely off topic because the game has started, Admirable. I realize that. But it is Paladin versus Paladin, which often does constitute a lot of hero power passing. It's kind of like Warrior versus Warrior in a sense. You do have these little minions jockeying for position, but more importantly, it's about setting up for being able to have a stronger mid game because you have things like True Silver Champion to really dictate the pace of the game, the mid game of whatever comes out, and you get favorable trades once again with your minions. So we're looking at Kolento, right? So ek0p was the one who has actually a pretty good start.
I think both these players actually had pretty good starts. Kolento's got more of like the power in the mid game, and Kolento had like a really strong early start with with Elven Archer, 4 mana worth of abilities for 1 mana. It's a Paladin hero power and a Mage hero power built into 1 card. But
For
this,
1 mana.
Yeah, but this Senjin's really going to slow down. So this game is going to be really weird in the next couple of turns. I don't have very much experience in Paladin versus Paladin, let me tell you what. But this... just look at what's happening on the board. It's like
right.
the staring contest.
Trying to play around like consecrations and everything like that. It's just kind of a weird scenario because people don't really play it that often. We haven't seen this in months. The last time I saw Paladin versus Paladin at a high level tournament was Fight Night, like season 2 or season 3. Where there was no timers. Oh my god, Admirable. There were no timers back then in competitive play. And Paladin versus Paladin was one of my least favorite matchups solely because of that reason. The only thing worse was Warrior versus Priest. I'll tell you. So long. Holy crap.
You don't like seeing 7-minute turns?
It's like, just play your Guardian of Kings. It's like, but what if I could just play my Cairn instead? It's like, oh, jeez.
Oh, geez.
All right, well, we do have the Kodo being pushed out. Now, don't forget that there is a Black Knight somewhere. Who is it? Oh, ek0p is the one who has it. Never mind. I thought it was Kolento so that he can swing it maybe the following turn.
Yeah, this is like sort of a weird turn. I actually really liked Outdoor Peacekeeper here. I'm curious why he's not doing that.
He has 2 as well, so...
Oh, he is doing it. Yeah, because this is effectively a heal for 2 on your Senjin here. And this is part of the flexibility of this card, is it can help shut down your opponent's power swings. I actually would like to see that 2-1 go into the 3-5, by the way.
Yeah,
Because
so then if he has to kind of go through the Sentence Master, he has to trade his own life.
Whoa! Now here's an interesting play. This is one of the matchups where I'm not sure this is the right play. Like if I was playing Druid, I just pretty much just slam this every single time and go for it. But he's got a secondary answer for it. He doesn't necessarily need the presence on the board. And something like Tyrion is going to be on your mind when you're playing this matchup. Or even something like... He knows that ek0p has Sunwalker as well. And given his hand density, it's like... It's really easy for him to hold this Black Knight. There's no rush for him to slam it on the board because this isn't a matchup about pressure. It's a matchup about... or it's not a matchup about like early pressure. It's just about having proper responses to your opponent's cards. So if he uses this Black Knight and then ek0p has like Sunwalker on this turn 6, he's really hating what's happened. So here it's like he's going to take a few points of damage, but now he just gets to get like Cairn down if he wants to, and kind of go from there. He can also Azure Drake and Hero Power is fine. Speak of the devil. Yeah, this is sort of the exact sort of
Black Knight for,
right. This is the exact scenario he wants to avoid. So you are going to take 15 damage when you Black Knighted Tyrion, but that's sort of why Tyrion's a really good card. Is because there's just you have to deal with it. It's a 6/6 taunt with the Divine Shield. It's going to die either way. So if you just don't have a silence, you don't have a silence.
And they do have a Spellbreaker, right, in the decks. So that's also an interesting tech that works not only against the new cards like Next Rammus, but also techs into what is really good in the old decks as well.
Right, it just happens to be good against... That's what's so great about that, kind of touching back.
Yeah.
It's just good against more stuff now.
Hey, you said it really well, and I completely agree, and I see your point now.
I wonder why
Not that I didn't see it before.
I wonder why he doesn't play Acolyte of Pain here. I'm actually really curious about that, because that shuts off his opponent's hero powers, and it also makes Consecrate a much weirder draw.
Speak of the devil.
Not that he's going to use Consecrate here. It's just that I feel like you want... I don't know, I feel like you would want the Aldor Peacekeeper on the board. And so here's where Kolento has an actually pretty tough decision to make, is whether or not he's dropping this Tyrion this turn. Because the longer the game goes on, the more likely it's going to be that ek0p has Tyrion. I'm sorry, that he has Black Knight. So this might be the spot where he ends up playing it, but it's a really big swing. So something he needs to think about is, can he afford to get Black Knighted here as well? If the answer is no, I imagine he likely won't be playing it. He's probably going to want to try to, I don't want to say bait it out with a Sunwalker, but that may be what he has to do to get Tyrion active.
And it doesn't even have Sunwalker. It's supposed to you have to wait for a long time for that to come out.
Oh, he actually does use Consecrate here.
Well, at least he gets for the full board clear, which is nice.
Yeah. This is the reason he does this is sort of, I think Tyrion really changed the dynamic of his draw here. He wants to get to a turn where Black Knight isn't going to swing the game so far out of control that he can't recover from it.
Yeah, if you control the board state ahead of time, then even if he does swing, you still have a response to the Black Knight itself, so you don't lose too much. Plus, you do have the Ashbringer to immediately respond to the Black Knight, take it out for the 5 health.
Yep. And now he plays Acolyte, though. Curious. I mean, I guess it
could be the idea, like the concept that Paladin wants to hit the hero power as much as possible. I was always told this whenever I was first learning Paladin, that you just want to just build it up whenever you can.
Right. I think normally that's
just much more board presence over time.
Yeah, I think normally that's always true. The only difference here being is that it's an investment in the actual cards you want to draw. So like when you play cards in your hand that won't replace themselves, you are foregoing opportunity costs, but this is just a different kind of investment with the Acolyte Bane.
Sure.
And
all right, well, I can't see Black Knighting anything else in his deck.
Bad news approaching, and yeah. That's a rough one. Again, 15 points of damage, but that's not very relevant because ek0p's got so many heals in his deck. Like, this weapon's just going to get offset. It's going to be taking out minions before it takes out health.
Oh, I think so. You use it to control the board, just like how you would use it as a warrior weapon. If that was an Arcanite Reaper with an extra charge, that's exactly what you'd be using it for anyways. And there's plenty of creatures that do have that health within the range. If you have the Black Knight, the Kodo, the Azure Drakes, even the Guardian Kings, if you have a hero power up, you're allowed to trade pretty efficiently.
Yep. Couple of Azure Drakes. Wow, this board. This is a scary board. ek0p needs to consecrate or a Wild Pyromancer or something. He's got equalities, yeah.
Is there ever a point where you just have to stop respecting equality and just feel like you have to just go for it in a sense?
I'm certain there is a certain point. I don't know exactly when that is. It's you have to weigh your options. I mean, that's the hardest part of this game, in my opinion, is weighing when you have to take a drastic shift in your game plan.
Well, I can't imagine equality not coming down on this kind of board with three 4-attack creatures with a lot of health. Right.
This is a prime spot to equality. He also has a backup equality too, so it's not even that big a deal to him. Yeah, I almost made a mistake there. You got to attack these Azure Drakes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, a second Holy Light. I think those are going to make a big difference this game.
Yeah, I think because there's so many minions that would be trading. I mean, this is kind of what Hearthstone is at its pure core, right? That the idea of you just keep picking good trades, board, build your position. It's just it's way slower than how Druid versus Druid is.
Yeah, this is going to be painful, I think.
Oh, I totally forgot that Kolento still has his Black Knight as well.
Yep. Still, does he want to save it for Tyrion, though? This is sort of... I don't think he does. At this point, it's pretty clear, I think, that ek0p doesn't have Tyrion. That's 4 more damage, too. He's getting a lot of value out of that 4-1 now.
I think you save onto it. I don't think you're really afraid of a Harrison Jones.
I don't think so, either. But if he pushes through to 5, his opponent's going to be at 16, and then he has 5, 9, 13, 14. He's 15 damage after that. So, yeah, he doesn't...
So
without
he'd be
drawing
one
something
short
with a concentration. Yep. Be 1 short.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good draw.
Well, he kind of top decks with Azure Drake. Maybe if you get something like a Consecrate as well.
Oh my gosh. Look at how good that draw is.
Oh, wait. That Pyro with the Holy Light on himself. Or even, yeah, on the Holy Light. He doesn't have the equality. That's kind of overkill. That's nice.
That's effectively a 12-point life swing, too, by the way, because he's taking 6 power off the board and he's getting 6 health.
Ah. All right.
Oh, and
Kolento draws his own Pyro.
Combo of his own.
Yeah.
We've got a game, boys.
I mean, you still don't even really need to use that because you still have the weapon to kind of dictate it. You still had a pretty comfortable health. I can't really imagine a world where Paladins are really bursting. I mean, a lot of people experimented for a while with like these weird Leroy Facelets, Blessing of Might stuff. But if you're going to do that, just play Handlock. Like, seriously. People were trying it for like a week, and I was like, come on. Come on, guys. This is Paladin we're talking about, right?
Just not needed.
Yeah.
You can see he really wants to play Kodo here. But I think you got to play Karin. The problem with this Karin is that it's being fended off by a 3/5.
Well, I mean, I think that even before that, you can get a really good trade with the Ashbringer plus the weak minions, the Black Knight plus the token. So if you just kind of eliminate Karin and once again go back to the board and deny your opponent, like this Senjin is going to be doing so much work to prevent any kind of ability for his opponent to rush through. So as much as he's on low health, he's still in a really comfortable spot.
That is a very, very good draw.
I'm invincible. To battle.
Okay, Kolento cleaning up, mopping up a little bit.
Yep, last charge of this weapon is going to be hitting that 4/5 almost certainly.
Oh, definitely. All he has to really do is make sure that his opponent maybe uses his second equality too. And then from that point on, your opponent is pretty much at the mercy of full board trading and development.
Yep. All right, we're having a bit of lag on ek0p stream, so we're going to be staying for Kolento's perspective for the moment. So what does ek0p do here? I mean,
he already played something. He played something I couldn't see. I think he did play the first Kodo, though, because he had two in his hand, didn't he?
Just look at his hand. He doesn't really have an option.
No. Okay.
Kolento, I mean, sorry, ek0p's sort of running short on cards here. He needs something like lay on hands.
Ah, Spellbreaker. Well, that's nice to keep in your back pocket for when something comes.
Yep, that's going to be his Tyrion mark now. That card will not be being played until Tyrion makes an appearance.
Let me think.
Well, I don't really see that many great plays. I think you can continue to build a little bit of the board, but then you're really afraid of your opponent's second equality as well, so you don't want to overextend.
Right,
is this really a place where you can play your Aldor Peacekeeper and feel like you continue to develop then?
This is tough. Part of his decision this turn too is how he attacks with his Senjin. He may actually be playing an Aldor Peacekeeper here, because if he attacks this 1/1, what happens is his opponent just gets to trade the Kodo in. So I really heads up play here by attacking his opponent's face. So he can trade the 1/1 for Divine Shield now, but that doesn't allow him to actually kill anything. Oh, and it looks like, just judging by the hand, that ek0p has drawn lay on hands.
He might have drawn lay on hands, yeah. And that's really important because he's picked up powerful minions. He's picked up a True Silver Champion, which is usually an MVP for being able to dictate the state of the board, and even an Azure Drake to keep the draws up. So ek0p is looking really sharp because if you look at Kolento's hand, look at Kolento's hand, it's kind of just responses to stuff, and he's really kind of at the mercy of what ek0p puts down, like his Holy Light here.
Right.
Is again, it feeds into the same kind of situation. He's just responding to what his opponent's going to be doing.
Yep, I like this play. Just continue. Your hand is reactive, so just take your time. No reason to rush. Get in some damage while you can, and go from there. But ek0p's got a full hand now. This is not a spot you want to be in, but there's a good chance that ek0p's hand's kind of similar to the way Kolento's is now when you're in Kolento's perspective.
Sure.
Because your opponent hasn't really been doing anything either, so the lay on hand certainly gives them some options. But like, how many good responses does he have to something like Sunwalker right now?
Well, he already uses Black Knight.
Right.
Silence
isn't
he
even
used
very
one
good here.
Peacekeeper. Yeah.
Silence gets rid of the Divine Shield, but I mean, what's that worth really?
I wonder.
So I think with this, you also have to be really mindful that ek0p doesn't want to overextend to the board into a second quality. Both of them have equalities in their hands to utilize. So it's again this delicate, what's the word I'm thinking about? Tightrope, where you're kind of just walking back and forth. You just kind of prod and shadow box each other until the point where equalities are gone, and then you can kind of fully commit to flooding.
Right. This is the Hearthstone chess match. Interesting play.
All right, well, he has
True Silver.
Okay. So he's able to clear the board, which is very important because he does have the cards that sets the pace of the game.
Wow, suddenly he's got a really big advantage now.
Well, Kolento will heal up a little bit, pass it right back. But can't deny the fact that it's looking very, very weak because when this Kodo comes out with combination of the Azure Drake, I have to imagine that Kolento will be feeling like he has to force to equality unless he has a direct response. I guess he could use Peacekeeper Humility.
Geez.
He also has a Tyrion as well. But I think he wants to really force his opponent to use even more removal before the Tyrion comes out.
Absolutely. If this Spellbreaker has to get played as just a minion, this could be really bad news for Kolento.
I think Kolento feels safe enough. There's 2 minions. He does have Peacekeeper and Humility, but eventually he might feel like he can toss it out if, if his opponent can bait it out.
Wow, some really powerful draws going back and forth now. Which one of these minions do you want to kill?
I would say the Drake.
Actually, I don't want to Quality Consecrate here at all.
Let me think.
That's 9 points of damage for 2 cards. And then you can potentially Humility, Spellbreaker, Kodo, a Tyrion. Or Spellbreaker, rather
man.
in a different order, though.
That combo for the Tyrion? Oh my god, that's so gross.
This game is getting crazy already. I don't know if ek0p's going to play Tyrion or if he's going to play Guardian of Kings first, though.
I would think Guardian Kings before the Tyrion.
I don't know. It's so close. Like, your opponent just Equality Consecrated. You know he's Black Knighted.
Actually, that's his second equality too, isn't it?
I believe so.
I think Kolento's out of equalities.
Yeah.
Which means ek0p will have free reign to kind of flood the board so he pleases.
I still think he's going to play Guardian of Kings first. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just
I like Guardian Kings better because what it does is... Oh, wow. Okay. But I mean, either one, you can make a justification for. Spellbreaker will come out, but it's still also a 6/6. Oh no, he can have Kodo Peacekeeper.
No, this is gonna keep Kodo. Yeah, so he silences this so he can take out the 1/1 to ensure that this Kodo ensure that this Kodo is gonna hit Tyrion here. That's a pretty big swing in the game.
Very nice. I haven't actually been paying attention. He's almost out of cards.
What? Oh my gosh!
I did not even realize that. The deck's kind of hidden away from our sight, so that's a little bit that snuck up on us completely.
This may come down to fatigue.
It will come down to fatigue. I'm almost certain of that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, ek0p still has a True Silver champion, so we can at least address the Spellbreaker, and then, unfortunately, that mana cost is going to be a little bit awkward for the Guardian of Kings, kind of trying to play it on 2 separate turns. But he does have responses to what his opponent has, but I don't know how many cards Kolento's on either. Is he on, what, 4 or 5 cards? No, he doesn't have played late of the hand, so he probably has like 7 or 8 left.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, True Silver champion. Yep, he's going to try to pick this board apart before he commits to the Guardian of Kings, I think.
Yeah. I think the Guardian of Kings might be his last form of damage.
Wow, is he just going to have to push for lethal? Oh, that is bad news for ek0p, if that's the case. Oh, because he's only got to find an amount of...
Oh! Kolento is a Guardian of Kings too! Okay, so this is going to make ek0p really upset because now his plan's being able to try to hit his opponent. He might be dying in 2 turns.
I don't know if there's any way that ek0p can win this game anymore. He's going to need...
Well, he has an equality in his hand. I think he has equality in his hand. So he can reset the board.
Does he have a reset here?
But that healing of the health, I think, was really important. I think even if he's able to reset, being the fact that he's able to heal is still really clutch. Depends on what it is, though. Is it like an Avenging Wrath? Okay, it's Consecration. But ek0p, what are you going to do? You don't have that many cards left. He's got Spellbreaker. That represents 8 points of damage following turn. He's still going to be short. Oh, but of course, the Peacekeeper. What a time to play when your opponent has no cards left. And Kolento sees that his opponent's also out of equality, so now it's time for him to strike back and flood the board. ek0p's down to 3 cards. One of them is Guardian of Kings. I think one of them is Holy Light as well, because he only played 1. Wait, that means he has a lot of heal, though.
I don't remember what his last few cards are.
I believe one of them's Holy Light. I think one of them is Guardian of Kings. And if I had to guess the last one, it was... I don't know. I don't know what the last card would be. He definitely drew a new card we didn't know.
You have to hit a minion here to try to protect your Guardian of Kings, right?
I think you have to hero power as much as you can, because it represents a long-term damage plan.
Well, the True Silver's got to go in, like... You put the True Silver into the Wild Pyromancer here, right?
Well, he's out of cards.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, you have to protect this Guardian. You're going to need repetitive damage for this Guardian of Kings. So if your opponent draws something like Holy Light here, you could actually now kill your Guardian of Kings.
That is true.
I think he should have attacked the Wild Pyromancer there.
He also, I mean, he could be playing around Some really weird. Oh, it's humility. All right.
Yeah, I really.
So he won't be able to push through.
Oh,
Walker off the top. Oh,
that is a huge drop.
devastating.
That's gonna close the game out. There's
I think so, because ek0p only has Holy Light, I believe. I think that's it. He can't even. He has to brute force through a Divine Shield and take 4 damage on his Guard of Kings. I think Kolento has Weathered Storm. He had 4 cards left, so he still had a long way to go. That would be, what, 8 damage before you'd be able to take from anything fatigue.
Oh,
so
good guy,
ek0p is going to concede.
Good guy ek0p throwing a Holy Light over to Kolento.
Okay, so game number 4. After that kind of nice little afternoon siesta of a game, Paladin versus Paladin, the action's going to fire up once again, guys. As it is going to be Miracle Rogue versus the Paladin for the last game. Actually, last game for ek0p. I don't want to kind of curse anybody yet.
Yeah, this is sort of a weird matchup to be in, I think, from the Miracle Rogue's perspective. It's because it's so much different than what you're used to. You're used to kind of being able to pick apart 3/2 minions and 3/3s and things of that nature, and really push for your advantage. But in this matchup, cards like True Silver really put a damper in your 3/3 plan, because it's such an efficient weapon versus those 3/3s. Wow, look, ek0p's actually got Ascension in his Rogue deck, which kind of shines in this matchup because it's going to be soaking up attacks from a True Silver champion.
Yeah, if you can make it basically go 1-for-1 with a True Silver, then it's already done its job.
Right, so a mana advantage is going to be going over to the Rogue in this matchup because 1 hero power is going to be taking out 2 hero powers from his opponent. But a life advantage is going to be going to Kolento. So, oh my gosh, and he's already jumped.
Wow, he has the Gadget Sand.
He's got 2 preparations and coin. Oh my gosh, this game just took a drastic turn, I think, in favor of ek0p with that one single draw.
It's also the idea that as much as Paladin does have a way to get through to the Gadget Sand, you just have to have specifically that combo in the mana. Because even if the Gadget Sand does come out and even if you have quality and Consecrate, you have to have the mana to do it. And it's often the case where if you don't have it, you don't have the Pyro, then you're kind of just sitting duck, and then you just because you're dropping these big 1 threats at a time, the Rogue can kind of continue to just burst you down. And it's not and that's exactly why if you scaled it mid game, you're able to kind of pressure the Rogue back. This is what Kolento was doing. You're able to kind of at least keep up the heals while being able to pressure your opponent.
Kolento's drawn one of the cards he will potentially need. If he can draw an equality, he might be able to offset this advantage. How aggressive do you get here? Well, I guess the answer is very aggressive. I was looking at his hand and I was thinking that maybe that was a good play. I was like, maybe he's supposed to get aggressive here.
Well, because he looks like he's going to play the Drake most likely next turn as well, unless something calls for the Kodo, in which case the Peacekeeper might want to be able to get in for some damage ahead of time.
Azure Drake comes down.
All right. Drake number 2 getting closer to the quality.
Wow, this could be the turn.
Where he just goes off. He also has Azure Drake as an alternative if he just still wants to save everything, right?
Yeah, slam off here. There's just no way you don't.
To resist. You have Fan of Knives as well to keep big draws coming.
You coin here for first, for sure. And now, how do you follow up on this? Okay, it looks to me, just from the outset, that he can preparation a Fan of Knives.
Oh, he also has
he's actually going to get too many draws if he does it that way.
He's at 8 cards right now, so if you Fan of Knives, he'll be at 9. He won't be at too many cards.
You're getting at the point where you almost have too many cards in your hand, though, if that makes sense. Like that's a hard spot to be in, but it does happen from time to time. So if he's going to use Fan of Knives here, he's going to attack this first, of course. Okay, so now he cannot preparation ship. Oh my gosh, and Leroy's in the hand also. So preparation to eviscerate. Into deadly poison. Oh my gosh, and the second shadow step.
Wow. And in cold blood. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So he has all of the tools he needs. Even a sap if a big taunt comes out, like a Sunwalker.
Kolento is going to need equality right about here.
I don't know if he's going to be able to get it.
Oh my gosh!
That is gross.
I cannot believe it.
Wow, That was the only card really that can pull Kolento perhaps back in this game. He still has to deal with a big threat. He could have done another. He could have done another combo, right, where he could have equality'd and then play the pyro and play like Holy Light. But I think you want to kind of save it for those desperate times where you need to heal back up to as much life as possible.
Right. He wants ek0p to commit a lot of damage to his face when he shouldn't otherwise, and then go from there. I think this is going to be just a 4/4 Van Cleef turn, but I don't know. I don't know if he should be doing that, honestly. Now that I think about it, I think he should just be. I was about to say he should play Earthen Ring Farseer, heal himself, attack 3 to the face, and then just re-dagger. He's got to get cards out of his hand, and at the same time, he's going to need this. He's going to need this Edwin Van Cleef, I think, to get really big and to conceal it, because he still has to find enough damage on Kolento's face to put him down to like the 18 range, so that way his Leroy combo can be lethal.
I mean, he also has 22 because of the Cold Blood.
I think he should be attacking with a dagger here. I think he should be really making a push for damage at the moment. Oh my gosh, and Tyrion gets drawn.
But he has Sap, so...
Right, but Sap is good when you're making the push for damage. Like right now, Sap doesn't really get the job done. He's just got to... Oh my gosh, and he draws Blade Fury. So, okay, so holding the dagger now looks really genius. Thanks, game, for making me look really stupid.
It's okay. It happens to the best of us. I think ek0p's doing this right. He's pacing himself. The Blade Flurry allows him to go for full board clear, and he just needs to get in that damage. So he has 22 from the hand if he can be able to get in Leroy full combo. But he used both preps, so he can't do that.
Right. So when he plays Tyrion here, he actually shouldn't sap this Tyrion. He should kill this Tyrion.
He has the means. Right. He does have the means. He has 2 saps. He has 2 saps.
Now he probably should be sapping.
So that plus like a Van Cleef.
This should be sap whatever. Van Cleef, I think. He's gonna go sap. I don't know. I like using the Cold Blood here. I mean, I think they both accomplish the same. Image.
Yeah, I think they accomplish the same thing. And I guess the nice thing is that you also can like re-dagger or something if you really want to.
Yeah, I like Cold Blood here a lot more.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's gonna use to eviscerate while he has the spell power. And just push in for as much damage as possible. It's almost lights out. He almost lethaled him this turn. That's how close he was.
Yep. Honestly, he should just. This game's.
Kolento, just look at Kolento's face. He's just saying, "Is it over? Is it my turn yet? Can I concede yet?" He has 2 Holy Lights. Like he has a way to kind of bounce back, but I don't know how he's gonna do it. He needs to get like a nether equality of some kind, and then use his Elven Archers and then double Holy Light of some capacity.
This game, there's no way that Kolento can win this game right now. Wow, and the power of Miracle rearing its head in this game.
Well, more like the weakness of what Paladin has been showing in the normal menu. This is what Paladin is known for nowadays, right? Just being a little too slow. And this is kind of where we were questioning what Kolento exactly planned. I mean, maybe he knew something we didn't, but why not ban the Miracle Rogue if you know you have Paladin, which could be weak? But maybe his handlock can kind of pull it through in the last game here, number 5.
Right. That's going to be doing it. I mean, how much damage does he want to deal? Like, does he want to be him here?
Does he want to reveal the fact that he has Leroy? He's like, oh no, I thought you were playing Maligos.
that was a thing for a while too, by the way. That wasn't always just like a joke. That was like a thing
with a consecration or something like that. So Kolento's going to be relegated to his Warlock deck, which we assume by all means is handlock, because he's shown it so many times, and he's also taken a fondness to it. He has a really important card right off the bat in the Twilight Drake, and he also has taken away the coin from Miracle Rogue, which is nice.
Ooh, and a Rubian Egg. This has been finding its way into seemingly every single deck that can find a way to use its own minions, like to get buffed and stuff like that. Ooh, that's an ugly hand from ek0p.
I was paying attention to Kolento. What does he have?
He's got Backstab, Band of Knives, and Leroy.
I guess it'd be good. He's like, I really hope you're Zoo, man. He's like, please toss out the Flame Imp right now. I just want to see
if he coins egg, ek0p might think it's Zoo.
The only thing you're contemplating is whether or not. I don't think you coin out egg.
Does this deck name change when you put in eggs? Is this egg lock now?
Is it? I don't
I don't
think
know.
so.
Hand
I don't
egg
think
lock. Hand egg. It's like football, right? You like
I guess
actual
so. It's the
football's
next
played-
big sport, right?
Actual
next big sport.
football is you know what us Americans refer to as soccer, and like actual American football is hand egg. It's the egg shaped thing, right? Yeah, and you
Oh,
almost
that
never
is
kick
true.
it. Yeah.
You kick it like once every quarter or so, right?
Yeah.
Every 15
Every-
minutes.
every time-
I wasn't really good at football. I didn't make the team, Admirable.
Every time you
Spoiled.
punt like I do, you kick the ball.
You were a punter?
Oh, when I played Hearthstone, yeah.
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 Okay. I get you. I punt very often when I play ours. That's well, he also has SI7 agent, so he can deal with the Nubian egg easily as well next turn.
Yeah, he's going to be poking it next turn and then following up with backstab. You don't want to poke it this turn because you're going to take 4 damage if you do that.
Okay, Sun Fury Protector. So he has a Taunt Giver, which also is very important to have, facing against Miracle.
Not too exciting draws so far from ek0p, but he's putting together something to get pressure out, which is
I
important.
think the Azure Drake is still really important, though.
You know, something I saw in this matchup when I was doing Tavern, is that in the finals, Strife Pro kept a hand that was Gadgetzane Auctioneer, Azure Drake, Gnomish Inventor
Ooh.
against a deck that he knew was handlock. And I was like, why on earth did he do that? And then I saw how important things like Azure Drake are in this matchup. Wow, a Mountain Giant? I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Yep. That's what my O's were for. And I strung them together to make a nice sound saying, ooh. Because that's a really important card, too, because the follow-up pressure, you kind of expect the Drake to get dealt with somehow, whether it's sap or eviscerates, backstabs, some kind of combination, speak of the devil.
That's a good draw.
And so from that, you kind of have to have a follow-up plan. You want to use it as well, because if he has a faceless, you limit the ability for him to stretch his health, and it becomes 4/6s, which are much more manageable than 4/9s.
Oh my gosh. These hands are getting really big really fast. I like not life tapping here. He could have life tapped and played the Mountain Giant for 3 mana, but at this point his hand's so strong that he doesn't want to pay any more life. He just has no need to. So he's just going to be playing the game basically with the hand he has now. And he's going to kind of limit his life taps as the game goes on, because he wants to be finding spots where life tap is necessary as opposed to just life tapping because he can. Every point of damage matters in this matchup.
Oh, absolutely. Especially from the Miracle points, because they're going to try to see if they can have an opportunity to burst early. Which might come into fruition, because he has Sap, he has Leroy, and a Shadow Step.
Yep.
And, he represents that. Let's see, how much does he have? He has 12, 15 the following turn. Ooh, double power from Kolento. Of course, it makes sense with the Nerubian egg.
Tough. Yep, and these two.
Oh, that is a huge wall.
Oh my gosh, that's a Great Wall of China. That's a Great Wall of Kolento that's just been placed. And the mountains come to life and start punching you.
Well, at least only if you hit back. Only if you hit first, right?
What on
Okay,
earth
well,
is
ek0p draws a
here?
Thalnos. The Thalnos normally is a really good, important card in the matchup sometimes if you have the removal spells to reach through, right? If you have those eviscerates. If you have the Blade Flurry, but he doesn't have those cards, so sitting kind of just as a loot hoarder for all intents and purposes.
I don't know what he's supposed to do here. This is brutal. Like, is he sapped a Mountain Giant? Does he even sap anything this turn?
If you sap, you would sap an Ancient Walker, wouldn't you? Because the Mountain Giant still doesn't really have anything else. Unless you feel like you're in threat of dying immediately. He has 10 damage, so if you're afraid if he can do 15 from the gun.
Which he actually almost can.
Let's see. Leroy, power.
Oh my gosh. Kolento is 1 damage off lethal.
Say it, Admirable.
He is 1 damage off lethal. Forsen has been... seriously, every time I watch his stream, he's in this spot. And now that, I've started paying attention to that, so many people are 1 damage off lethal.
Wait. Does he have it? No, okay, that's already... He's still short.
He's 1 mana off lethal!
Damage. He's still Now he's one mana off lethal. That's
Okay,
funny.
so real talk to you, Hellfire here.
That's a good question.
No,
Then
you don't
you
have
open
to.
yourself up to Blade Flurry. You open yourself up to Blade Flurry.
Right, you attack for 10, you Siphon Soul, you pass the turn.
Yes. Yes, because then you have the mana to. If you can't deal with everything, then you still have the mana to.
He's
do
only
it
got
next
7
turn.
mana, so he needs 6 mana for Leroy and 2 powers, and it's 2 more mana for the Owl. And if he wants a Hellfire, that's going to cost 4 mana right from the get-go.
Is there a target you Siphon Soul? Siphon Soul is healing ability,
spot,
so you can't.
yeah, I was
go
going to
out
say
of-
at this spot, you hit the Earthen Ring Farseer, and if you really want to dig deep, that is a telegraph that he's going to kill him next turn. Wow, that could
I think
do
that's
something.
it. I think that's it, though,
He
right?
sets
Because
him out.
oh, you're right. You set the Mountain Giant. So you guys not out of it just yet. But if you silence the taunt, and then you have Leroy from power, double power,
You're still 3 short.
you're still 3 short.
Yeah, so you can draw Soulfire to end the game.
Now you have the Sun Fury, then you're still 1 damage off lethal. Oh man. I mean, as much as ek0p can stall, though, he has damage in his hand, but he needs to kind of piece everything together to be able to win. You know, the sap would ideally go on the taunter, so that way you can kind of push through. There's no way for this to happen. And what's so interesting is, like, as much as you want to keep minions on the board and prevent anything from happening and being able to trade, like, Conceal is also so weak because then it hides your taunt, right? There's nothing you can really do in that capacity.
I don't know. I'm trying to find a way he can actually still win this game. I just don't see it.
No, he can't
He's gotta-
conceal. He conceals, he dies.
Yeah, he's got to sap this Mountain Giant.
I think so too.
Oh,
Oh, but he's gonna go for a win push instead. He's saying if the opponent doesn't have the ability to kill him. Oh man, ek0p goes for a way to potentially kill his opponent,
What is it?
but we know that means it's game over.
Yeah,
Because
there's
he
just
goes
nothing
through
to
the
draw.
taunts. Right.
Yeah, this was just the checkmate. Was all. That's gonna do
Okay,
it.
so Kolento's gonna advance in the losers bracket and destroy his teammate's chance of getting any further in the tournament. And he will move on to play Gnimsh. An unfortunate day for Cloud9 fans, but if you're rooting for Kolento,